Hello， 大家好，我是乐手巢的 John。有一首歌，只要你有玩摇滚、有听摇滚，相信一定听过。就算没有听过原版的，应该也听过 The Worst Cover Ever。那就是 Europe 的 Final Countdown。或者你听过赌神致敬版本。好，乐手巢也有幸访问 Europe 的鼓手 Ian。那 Europe 也会在2月4号来台湾演出。那接下来请进入我们的访问影片。So would you start by, well, obviously a lot of people should know who you are, but just, as a way to start the video, so please let us know who you are.
Yeah, okay. I'm Ian Haugland. I'm the drummer of the band Europe. World famous for the Final Countdown, of course, and some other songs as well. So that's me.
I believe that you've just finished your European leg of your time capsule tour.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Just before Christmas, we wrapped it up. We did about 20 plus shows throughout Europe, and it was really a great experience. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I believe you're taking just a break for now, and then you'll be heading to Japan real soon, and then Taiwan, of course.
That's right. We're flying off on Sunday, actually, this upcoming Sunday. So we're just about packing the baggage and fixing the last tweakings on the drums, and off we go.
Right. So one question I have, well, I guess the first official question is that with such a catalog of songs, right? And then how are songs picked for your 40th anniversary tour?
Well, it's always a big it's a dilemma. It's a joyful dilemma because we're very lucky to have a treasure chamber of back catalog songs and albums. So it's not really that easy. Well, it's easy in one sense. We always obviously pick the songs that people know the most, like the Final Countdown and the other big hits. So I would say that maybe half the set list is kind of easy to assemble because it consists of the more known songs. But then we also like to cherry pick a little, take some B-sides and do some features and stuff like that, instrumental features and little surprises like that. And we also try and involve some personal reflections from all the members in the band on stage. So it's more of a communicating with the audience in a different way than when we're playing, let's say, like a festival set where you just go in and bang, bang, bang all the songs and it's more like a boxing match. Right. So this is more like bringing the audience with you on a journey throughout the career of Europe.
Yeah, the time capsule, eh?
Yeah, that's right.
And are there, because this is like a big tour for you guys, being 40th anniversary and all that, are there any special criteria, or it's kind of still the same as well?
Well, it's the songs are there, so it's more it's more about the presentation and the way we set up the show with more personal reflections from all the band members on stage, which is revolutionary. Just to make John Lennon speak, in public.
Yes,
that's a big thing, So,
yes.
But so it's. We have the songs there; they are there, and we. So it's more how we present them, and when you put a set list together and you go on stage and you play, of course you get a sense of, is this the right? Do we have the right flow? And I have to say, on this time capsule tour, it's been 100% flow, and it's pretty long. It's a pretty long show, but to me, in the beginning, I was a little bit worried. Will I be able to pull this off? Playing, 2+ hours of, just bashing it out. But I have to say, it's very joyful. It's and very smooth and easy at the same time as it's really exciting in with all the ups and downs in the show and surprises.
Yeah, so once you get the adrenaline pumping, then it's just going and going, right? Any favorite songs to play live?
it's kind of it's fun to play the songs that we haven't played that much, of course. But as for me, as a band member or a musician on stage, but I have to say it might sound cliche or boring, but when we play the final countdown and the reactions you get from the audience, that adrenaline rush and the energy flow that you get from the audience is, it's just fantastic. And I will never be fed up with that. So it's, I love playing the final countdown as much as I love playing, like an album track from the very first Europe album, for instance. So I couldn't really tell you. It's just joyful. The whole show is just like a high from beginning to end.
Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, because like sometimes I wonder, people, because I've heard people say their favorites in terms of, I love playing this song in terms of like musicianship, and they're also I love playing this song because of the reaction I get from the audience.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there are some songs that are a bit more demanding. Play wise as a musician, it's like take for instance, we play. Not really want to give away, but one of the songs from the first album that we play, and it's really, from the very early era, and the way the band wrote the songs in those days are a bit different, more tempo changes and things like that, more almost like a bit more progressive. So that's, you're on edge all the time when you play that song, and it's a great fun song to play. But at the same time, if you take a song like Carrie, for instance, which is just like a smooth, very soft song, it's still a demand. It's still challenging because you need to find the right mood and the right groove for that song. It's demanding, but in another way. Then.
And then we also heard that you're working on the Europe the movie.
That's true. Yeah. It's been under production for a long time, for many years now. But we've had a film team with us, coming out to certain shows and doing filmings, and in between there we had meetings with them where they filmed just interviews and stuff. So it's most of it is it's being put together now. So it's the plan is to have it out sometimes during this year, probably at the end of this year, I would say.
Right.
But it's being produced and edited and whatever they're doing.
Yeah, because I heard that there are a lot of clips that might not be able to be shown, because I think it consists of some of the past footages of throughout your career, right?
Well, I don't know really. I know we left a bunch of videotapes from way back, and I don't think we all actually knew what was on those tapes. I hope nothing too much, embarrassing. But so I don't have any. I don't know anything about that. But you might be right about it. But it's whatever is on the film happened, obviously. So we'll see what. I mean, we're not that much involved in picking, what sequences or what scenes are going to be used. We have the director. He's taking care of all that. So it's see, once the movie is finished and we'll see it, it's going to be as surprising for us as any other people.
So it's been 7 years since your latest album, right? Walk the Earth. And then you have a new single, Hold Your Head Up, which was released right before you left for the tour, I believe.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. 7 years. It's weird how fast time passes, because it doesn't feel like 7 years. I mean, I can still remember, moments in the Abbey Road studios when we recorded the album and everything. So it's kind of weird how fast time flies by. But in any way, yeah, 7 years, that's a long time. I think even for Europe standards, it's a very long time between albums. So it's, but I mean, it's been the pandemics and all that crap that happened to the world that we couldn't, do much about. But we are working on new music. And as you said, we released the single Hold Your Head Up before the tour. And that was exciting. I mean, I could tell, when we went into the studio and recorded that song, that, working in the studio, we all missed it because that's where the magic happens, when you're creating something together. That's when you develop as a musician and as a band. I think it's really it's important. It's important for the creative mind and for the feeling of being a band and contributing to wholeness of sorts. It's one thing to go on when you go on tour. It's as much fun as well, but it's in a different way, because then you just go on stage and you know what you're going to do, and you just go out there and do your stunts sort of, and wave and thank you and goodbye, But in the studio, that's where you become creative and you bounce ideas between each other, and that's where you grow as a musician and as a band. So it was really a moment. I think it was very important for us to be reminded after 7 years away from that feeling that we still had that creative spark. So and I know Joey and the other guys are working on at least 2-3 new songs as we're speaking. So the plan is to again have a new album out probably early next year. I would say it's no use in trying to be too optimistic about the time frame, but yeah. So
okay, so you guys
looking forward to that,
right? So you mostly still write music when you get in a space together, you jam it out.
Yeah, well, we don't write that much when we're jamming as such, but usually Joey or some other guy come up with an idea and they record it as a demo and they send the files back and forth, and we kind of try and build some kind of a structure, like a framework of the song. And then when we get together, we try that out and we play it, and we might do certain changes and stuff. And so yeah, that's how we work the song. And then when we get into the studio, we just put it down
right
on tape. I almost said, but that shows how old I am, because I don't know where the fuck you put it down. You just put it somewhere in space.
Yeah.
But in any way, it's I think it's we tend to we want to have some kind of an idea, some kind of a framework before we start jamming around it. I know we had at certain times we've just jammed on something on a sound check or something, and then
that
someone in the band
song.
continued working on that, and it became like a song idea, but not intention.
Right. So, the approach is a little bit modernized, like you mentioned at the very early stage, you have an idea and then you send it to your other bandmates, and then that's how you create like a draft or like a foundation, right? And then you kind of jam it out to perfect it or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. Actually, I have to say that the last 2 albums that we did with Dave Cobb, the producer, we worked in a totally different way, which was kind of new for us, because we always been used to having a certain framework to work out of when we go into the studio. But when we started working on War of Kings and Walk the Earth with Dave Cobb, he said, I don't want to hear any demos. I don't want to hear any pre-recorded. Just bring your ideas into the studio and we'll take it from there. And we were like, okay, how does that work? Is that possible to work that way? We never done it before. But it worked out fine, because Dave, on the other hand, was really used to work that way. So it was a totally new experience. And again, it made us more afterwards, made us more self-confident that we can work this way as well, and we can rely on our, the creative spark at the moment, and use that as the foundation for the song. So, but I'm not sure what producer we're going to be working on this time. So we're going to continue doing it the way that we feel most comfortable with, having a framework and take it from there.
Right. And can we say Hold Your Head Up is like a glimpse of your upcoming album?
Yeah, I think so. It's I don't know, compared to Bag of Bones, War Kings, and Walk the Earth, it might be a little bit more melodic, a bit more, I shouldn't say trying to recreate the 80s, but I think it's more inspired by, the 80s in a way or so. And I don't know how the other songs are going to sound, because we never really know until we have recorded it or until we reach the finished product, sort of. But I think the songwriting is just, and the mood and the thinking about the new songs and forthcoming album is that we're not resistant to try and explore the 80s and the kind of moods that we came from around that era. Right. So we'll see. Yeah, it's definitely a teaser or a pre-taste or whatever you want to call it. Yeah,
definitely looking forward to that. And
me too.
Well, on the topic of touring, again, you're I guess in the middle of touring, you're just taking like a short break for now. Having toured for so many years, what's are there any differences between nowadays and how you were before? One thing, for example, is I know, well, you're a drummer, I guess drums mostly stayed the same. Like maybe, some drummers are using triggers now, but I have guitars or other production side kind of changed in what they use and the logistics.
Yeah, that's right. I think as far as I can remember, from back in the 80s when we started touring, it's the drums around that time. Speaking about the drums, most drum brands were kind of getting better. I know maybe 5 years before that there were big differences in different brands. But so I think for me personally, it's never been a problem with the crappy, one brand being less good than anything else. So, but I've always been kind of true to my preferences, like Pies to Cymbals, for instance. I played that from when I started playing drums, whenever, 50 years ago or something. And I play Yamaha drums right now, and they're just and I've been playing that since the 80s, at the end of the 80s, and great stuff. Great, they hold up perfectly and sound beautiful. So it's when it comes to the instrumentation on stage, I think it's basically the same as it used to be. I never really used triggers and stuff on the drums, like I know some do. They're all acoustics, and I have some effects pads, but apart from that, it's all acoustic drums and cymbals. So it's instrument wise, it's basically the same, I would say. The bigger difference compared from the 80s and onwards is the monitoring system. I mean, we used to have like big, huge speakers blasting from behind, when in the 80s, monitor systems. but these days you do it with in-ears, earplugs, sort of, which is, I guess, better for the good old tinnitus and tinnitus. Well, whatever. But I mean, I can tell. Well, actually, my wife can tell that my hearing has gone out the window over the years, because she's. I mean, the word, the most common word you hear in our home is "what" from me. Whatever my wife is saying, I say "what," and she's like, "Get a hearing aid, you old fart."
Well, I kind of have the problem. Yeah. I
mean, it's inevitable.
Yeah, because I play the guitar, and I love amps. But because I'm saying that is, I see a lot of, especially younger bands, that, they don't play with real amps anymore. Like, they've gone digital. They're good size to it. It's like not as many gear to carry around, cheaper flights, because, that could be expensive. Right. Yeah, so I was kind of wondering, whether that affected Europe in the whole, like, productions scale.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when we go on the festival tour, for instance, we bring our own monitor desk and outboard desk. And I mean, back in the day, they used to be big like a motorhome. When you needed a trailer just to travel the outboard desk, the mixing desk. But these days, you have it in a briefcase, and it does 10 times whatever the old shit used to do. And it's amazing. So in that sense, you save a lot of money. You save a lot of money on the transportation and logistics. And it sounds as good as ever. And it's almost, you can't really grasp it when you see those mixing desks. It looks like, I mean, you can basically do the mixing on your iPhone, and it just goes on Bluetooth to whatever, like a unit that's sets the whole thing up. So it's that sense, it's been a big difference. That's probably the biggest difference, the on the technological side, and it's done things much easier. And we're still trying to convince John Norum to at least try one of those, like a Kemper amps and stuff, because he always carries his 4 Marshalls and amps, whatever, So, but he's like, no fucking way. You need to feel the sound in your trousers, when you stand before the speakers. And in a way, I mean, it's in a way stupid, but I at the same time I understand him, because it would be like telling me to start playing roll and pad drums. I wouldn't do it, because it's not it's the feeling, it's the feeling of being in the acoustics, the frequencies and the vibrations, that something happens to your body,
Yeah, because I think a big thing is that you need to feel the music.
Yeah, exactly. It's that's half the thing. I mean, it's to make a bad comparison. It's like the difference between making love and watching a porn movie.
Nice.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. So, over the span of your career in touring, are there any memorable moments? Like, what was like, wow, I'm definitely gonna, this is gonna be in my memory for, the rest of my life, sort of thing.
Well, there's thousands of things that were wow moments, but just a couple of them was when we were number one in the UK with the Final Countdown the first time in 1986 as the first. I think ABBA had a number one single before us, but as a Swedish rock band, the first rock band to have a UK number one with the Final Countdown. That was amazing. That was really, and we went played on top of the Pops and everything, and that was like, wow, is this really happening? That was really weird. And what else? Well, like when we played on the Millennium Eve, we hadn't been playing for almost 10 years together, and we were offered to play on the Millennium Eve in Stockholm on an outdoor stage. It was like minus 25 degrees centigrade, and in the middle of the night on a boat. They had built a stage on a boat that was in the middle of the city, and it was just opposite to the royal castle in the old town. And it was like you didn't see any audience. It was filmed on stage and they showed it on giant video screens all over Stockholm town, and in the city where we couldn't see any people because they were like a couple of 100 meters on the other side of the water, and it was all pitch black. But there were like 1 million people in the city watching us play there, and also it was TV broadcasted, so it went out to millions and millions and millions all over the world. And it was, just knowing that it was like before us, the people that experienced the new millennium was the Vikings. So, and there we were, and we played from the old millennia into the new one with the final countdown. That's
a very fitting.
You don't get to do that many times in a lifetime.
Exactly.
So that was really amazing. And well, what else? I think when we just recorded "Walk the Earth," for instance, we did it at the Abbey Road Studios, in the same studio that Pink Floyd recorded "Dark Side of the Moon" and "Wish You Were Here," and we used the same outboard gears, the same mixers, and some of the gears that we used, they were specially designed for certain band members, like historical band members. Like the guy came in with a little box, and it said John Lennon box, and it was just like a big like a metal box with one knob on it. And it was used for his vocal. It was like some kind of some kind of a processor for his voice. And we got to use all that stuff. And that was like, wow, we are using the same things like our idols, and played in the same studio. It was humbling, and it was really honoring. And I was really awestruck.
Right. And speaking of the final countdown, it's been used with or without authorization, on so many different things.
Yeah.
Right. So are there any like highlights of where it was used, or what's the time or event where you guys were not really happy about it?
I don't know really any, or at least I can't really remember any specific moments, but I know that it's been used for, different political purposes, like elections but also like funerals and weddings. And so it's been the most amazing thing about the Final Countdown is that it can be whatever you want it to be. It can be something that honors something, and it can be something that is brings joy, or in a sad moment you use it to bring support or something. So it's just one of those really special songs that you can't really put your finger on what it's about, but it works for so many purposes, and it works a lot in I know it's been used for a lot of sports events as well. Right. So it's kind of interesting. I had back in the 80s, I had a friend. He went to South America, to the Amazons, and he went on a boat ride through the jungle, through the jungle on the Amazon River, and they stopped by a small hut to try and get something to drink or something with the whoever, just one or two people standing there in the jungle, and they had a radio and they played the final countdown on the radio. That's memorable. How widespread that song had become. Amazing.
Since your current tour is called Time Capsule, right? And if you can put anything in a time capsule and open it 5 years later, what would you put in? Anything, as in, it could be like something without a form, scent, memory, like anything.
Well, that's weird. I never thought about that, but I can't think about anything really. But it's I can't think about anything. Really.
No worries. No worries.
That's a tough one. Yeah.
Okay. So Final Countdown is obviously Europe's like biggest hit, right? But what would you also say is that you would consider like an underrated song?
Underrated song. Wow. There's a lot of, it's funny because when we put together the set list for the time capsule, we all went through all the albums to listen through and to see, what songs we were going to pick. And, it just struck me how many great songs there are still, from the very first albums up to the latest album, there are so many great songs, and that you feel, you always get that feeling that, wow, that song should have had more attention. That song should have become a hit, that song. So it's I had that moment with every album, basically. But I know, one of my favorite albums are Princess of Paradise. I think that album suffered a lot from being released. First of all, it was released a little too late. It was postponed because of record company crap and stuff. But once it came out, it was like basically just dropped. It was released and nothing really happened to it. So I think many of those songs on that album should have had a better, fate than they actually got.
Yeah. So, that about wraps up our videos, interview. Thank you very much. But, one last bit is that you're coming to Taiwan early next month. So anything?
That's true.
Yep. So are you expecting anything out of, just Asia in general, like Japan and Taiwan? Anything like that?
Oh, well,
food.
I expect total madness from the audience and total audience participation and everything. No, it's going to be great fun. We've been to your beautiful island a couple of times before, and I remember that the audience is really good. So I hope it's going to be as good and hopefully a little better than the last time.
Definitely will. Okay, Thank you very much, for this interview.
Thank you.
Thanks. We're looking forward to having you in Taiwan next month.
Looking forward to coming there.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, have a nice day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.